All right, so let's talk about what it takes to actually reach Japanese fluency in 6 to 9 months. Fluency, it's gonna be around N2 to N1 level Japanese. Of course, that isn't perfect fluency. It's just the baseline for native fluency, but it is what most learners consider to be fully fluent, fully advanced fluency. So it's probably what you are actually aiming for. That said, you might be wanting to do casual Japanese, or you might be wanting to just have the beginner basics. And you might be wondering to yourself, well, Gus, you told me that I could reach Japanese in 3 months. Is this actually even possible, or are you just trying to scam me? And so I have an actual, I have a script here of exactly what I wanted to say for this beginner video, but I decided that rather than that, you can see this, all of this is going to be, all of this is going to be available for you to read through the guide right underneath this video. However, rather than going off of this script, which I've prepared for you, I decided that, well, I'd rather just speak from the heart here, as well as speak from my own experience. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Gengo Gus on Instagram. I think I have something like 4.5 so 45,000 followers now. And it's not a ton of followers, but it's what it is. I've been doing this, I've been coaching Japanese for Japanese learners from everything from the very, very zero, like no Japanese at all, to all the way to business Japanese and even to N1 level Japanese. And I've been doing this for 3 years now. So if that's worth anything, I've coached over, I want to say over 200 learners now. And that is over the past 3 years. So if you have any doubt as to whether or not like I'm qualified to do so, I'm going to tell you right now, technically I'm not qualified to give out any advice. I don't have any credentials. The only things that I do have is my own experience, as well as the experience and the results of the people before you who have actually been on this program. And so people before you on this program, they have reached conversational Japanese in 3 months. There are people who have reached N1 level Japanese from N4, or from intermediate to advanced levels within 3 months. So this is definitely attainable. I can say so because I've seen it for myself. Personally, I have not attained those results. My first time learning, I took 4 years. I made all the mistakes a beginner learner might make. And I would say that if I could go back and do it again, I would have done it faster. I would have done it in under a year. But just like any millionaire, they would say, they go to zero and they, what am I saying? If you took away a millionaire's money, if you take away all their money, they can make it all back within a year. It's the same with Japanese. I have all the skills and the knowledge to do so. Obviously, I can't go back in time though. So what I have decided to do instead is help others to do what I could not. And that's why I became a teacher in the first place. And hopefully this guide does actually help you to reach Japanese fluency within a year. Again, I don't have my script. I don't have anything here. I'm gonna edit it a little bit, just so that I can actually drink my coffee. Okay, before I was a language coach, and so this is just a little bit about me. You can skip past this if you feel like this isn't relevant to why you're on this program. Before I was a language coach, especially for Japanese, what I had done is I did have experience learning languages. I had learned Spanish beforehand. I actually learned it for 3 years in school as an elementary school student and middle school student. And then I went and moved to Costa Rica for a year. And if you don't know what language they speak there, it's Spanish. And I had become fluent, or very close to fluent, in Spanish in the course of 1 year. And that's my history with languages. I took the SAT, which is the test to get into university in the United States, completely in Spanish. I took the SAT, whatever it was, like the special test, but it was in Spanish. I've done multiple programs where I've been both a mentor and a coach for other people. And so both my background in coaching as well as my background in language learning is basically what brought me to actually develop this program. And it's what brought me to actually start the Instagram, as well as my YouTube and TikTok channels, even though they're not as big as my Instagram, of course. But it is what I had decided to do to actually help other people in learning Japanese. What I want to talk about is what it actually takes to learn Japanese. And so you might be like, well, Gus, you were pretty young when you started learning. You were like 19 when you started, and you've been learning as a youth, and you've been in college. It might not apply to me, who is maybe a working adult. You have a family, you have a job, you might feel like you have no time. You might feel like it's just too hard, or your adult brain can't process Japanese correctly. And I'm here to tell you that most of that is not true. Most of the things that people will tell you about adult brains not being able to learn just like child brains is false. Most of the stuff that people will tell you about, if you don't have a certain amount of time, you can't learn Japanese, which is true to an extent, but what matters more is what I want to talk about today, which is actions. And so at the end of the day, you can rely on motivation. It doesn't last too long. You can rely on habits, and habits are great ways, effective tools to learn Japanese. But in most cases, what you have to actually do to get into a habit, it's going to take 21 days to actually build that habit. It takes a little bit longer. It's a little bit harder to do successfully. And with that said, what it takes at the end of the day to learn Japanese is just doing the actions. And so once you know the actions that you have to do to actually achieve the level of Japanese fluency that you want, just doing those actions is what's going to get you to the goal that you want in the time that you want it. So of course you do want to set your goal. You do want to know, like, okay, I want to have casual conversational ability of Japanese in 3 months, or I want to have the best possible Japanese I can get within a year. And if you have either of those goals, it's great that you have the goal, and it's great that you know the time that you want it by. But now you have to take those goals and break it up into maybe separate actions that you can do monthly, weekly, and daily for you to actually reach the goal that you want to reach in the time that you want to reach it. Once you know your goals, you have to stop changing the actions that you have to do daily. Of course, changing is okay. It's okay to change, and it's okay to evolve the types of actions that you're doing. But really, in most cases, you don't want to change a lot of the actions that you're doing throughout your day. So I have a full list of study plans, as well as in the roadmap, you'll see there's a lot of repeating actions. So you'll see there's always going to be listening. There's always going to be reading. There's always going to be some sort of speaking or writing activity. Not too much, but a little bit. There's always going to be some sort of flashcards or some way that you're going to review. And so as long as those activities, there's only a couple ways you can really learn a language. As long as you do the activities, you will get to the goal that you want to have. But you actually have to just do the actions. And so every day you have to wake up and you have to go to your phone, or you have to go to your computer. And instead of maybe doing what you normally do, you have to make a pretty conscious decision of like, okay, today I am learning Japanese. And so you get to the computer, you get to the scenario, and instead of doing what you normally do, you're like, okay, now we're going to Japanese. And so just for an example like this, and again, you can skip past this if this doesn't apply to you, but an example of this is, for me, every day I wake up and I have the horrible addiction, ever since I moved to Japan, of going to the konbini. So the convenience stores here, amazing, they're extremely convenient. But every time I go to the konbini, I would always get like some sort of sweets. I get onigiri, and although they sound very healthy, it's not the healthiest thing in the world. And I would have to make a conscious decision of every time I went to a konbini, I'd have to be like, okay, I'm in here, I'm looking at the item I want to have, and I'm making a conscious decision not to go for that item. So even though I'm standing right there in front of the sweets that I want, or in front of the onigiri that I wanted to have, you have to consciously turn away. You can stand there, you can look, because you're already in the habit of standing there and looking. Stand there and look, but at that last second, you have to change, and you have to go and you have to choose something healthy, or you have to go and choose something that isn't super pricey and is not gonna destroy your wallet for the next 5 years. So that's what I do in terms of habits. And it's the same with Japanese. You get up, you get on your phone, you get on your computer, and you are in the state of like watching that YouTube channel or watching that drama series that you enjoy normally. You're looking at the series, you're about to hit play, and then again, you have to switch and mentally prepare yourself to change to doing the actions that you know you have to do in order to reach Japanese fluency. 100% of learning Japanese is going to be just doing the actions. Just do the actions. If you see the actions on these study plans, or if you see the actions in this roadmap, you now know what you have to do to reach your goals. You just have to do it. And you might be like, well, Gus, I don't really like online flashcards, or Gus, I don't like online classes. And that's okay. I'm not saying that you have to choose the same mediums that maybe I learned through, and you don't have to choose the same resources I learned through, but you still have to do something. So for example, for flashcards, if you don't like flashcards, or if you don't like electronic flashcards, you can switch it with reading. If you don't like electronic flashcards, you can do physical flashcards, it's okay. If you don't like any flashcards whatsoever, you can just do reading, it's okay. If you don't like listening to music, you can listen to podcasts, and vice versa. If you don't like podcasts, you can listen to music. If you are more into games rather than watching TV, you can do games rather than watching TV. Also, same, if you don't like games, you can just watch TV. If you don't like speaking to somebody, you can speak to yourself. There are tons and tons of switches you can make to actually make it happen for you. What I think that a lot of people end up doing is they use that moment where they're like, okay, well, I've hit a wall now and I don't know where to go. They use that moment to give up. You're using that moment as an excuse to basically give up on your goal of learning Japanese for that day. And that's just not what's going to cut it when it comes to learning Japanese in a short amount of time. You have to be doing the actions that you know you have to do every day. Whether that's all of the actions or it's just some of the actions, you have to do at least some of the actions. It doesn't have to be all of them every day. Not every day is going to be perfect, but as long as you know the actions that you have to do and you're doing them to the best of your ability, you will get to your goal in time. And I know this is very cliched to just say, just do it, but it is what's going to help your Japanese the most. So now that you know what it takes to actually learn Japanese, I want to talk a little bit about the roadmap, what this is, what this program is, as well as what you can expect while you're doing this program. This program is not a course. A lot of people mistake it for a course because it's what's more common out on the internet. Lots of coaches just do courses. We don't have a course. We don't do courses. There's no courses. There's no online courses. If you want an online course, you can go somewhere else, but this is not where we do online courses. Personally, I think online courses are a scam. Unless they're free. If they're free online courses, it's all good. But if it's not free, otherwise, the education is free. You have all these free resources out there that you can use to learn Japanese. There's no one course that I would recommend for you to actually take to actually learn Japanese, whether that be in person or online. With that said, this is not a course. The study plans are not a prison. They're just guides for showing you what actions you have to do. And the group meetings that we have on the calendar here, those group meetings are not lessons. They are speaking trainings. So their main purpose is to help you to speak more Japanese. And with the more Japanese you speak, the more your confidence will actually increase. Here, if you have low confidence in Japanese, it's because you haven't been done a lot of things in Japanese. Really, if you don't have confidence speaking Japanese, it's because you haven't had many times where you're actually speaking Japanese to many different people. What happens to be the case with confidence is the more that you do something, the more confidence that you have in that thing. The more that you listen to Japanese at native levels, the more confidence you'll have at understanding Japanese at native levels. The more reading you do of native level Japanese, the more confidence you'll have at reading native level Japanese. It's not the other way around. You can't just read a bunch of easy books and then say, okay, now I have the confidence to read all these harder books. If you read harder books from the beginning, you will have more confidence to read more harder books. It builds on itself. If you're only reading easy books all the time, you're only going to have the confidence to read easy books. And so a lot of people get that confused. They get that mistaken. This morning, I actually had a coaching meeting with Kelvin. Kelvin is one of the meeting members who I meet with every now and then for this program. And Kelvin, he has a good level of Japanese. He can't get out of just reading the easy books. He's like, okay, well, I'm comfortable reading easy books. I'm just going to read easy books all the time. And while it's okay, and I said like, okay, you can read those easy books, but the only way that he's ever going to get to the level where he can read harder books is if he actually just reads a harder book. Once you actually read the harder book, you go through the trials, you have a dictionary with you on the side to help you, but you actually go through the process of breaking it apart and actually reading the book. Now you've read one book, so you have a little bit more confidence to read a second book that's also native and at a harder level. And then you have more confidence to read a third book, and then a fourth book, and then soon enough you're reading at a native level. Same with speaking, same with listening, same with watching TV. All of these things do require you to do the action first. So you have to jump in first in order to get a little bit more confidence. But confidence builds after many, many examples of success. And so what does success look like? Well, you define what success looks like. For me, personally, the very first books I read were native level Japanese books. For me, success was just getting to the end of the book. It wasn't necessarily about understanding everything. It wasn't about getting all the grammar or all the words from this book. It was just finish the book. And once you finish the book, you have more confidence to go on to the next books, which I did. I finished 7 books after that. And then I went on to read pretty regularly in native level Japanese, even though I was only N2 at the time. I was already like N3, N2 at the time. I was only at that level when really those books were higher than N1 level. I'm gonna jump back to the script. I'm just gonna see if there's anything else that I missed to talk about in this video. Speak Japanese fluently in 3 months. At first, you might wonder if it's really possible to speak Japanese fluently in 2 to 3 months. And it really depends on what you define as fluency. Really, with fluency, many learners just see the daily conversational level of Japanese as fluency. That's okay. Personally, I don't. Personally, I see fluency as N1 level Japanese or higher. That's C1 or C2 level of Japanese in the European scale of languages. For me, that's what fluency is. But for other people, they just want to have the travel Japanese. You just want to have conversations, make friends, speak a little bit of daily Japanese, and that's fluency for you. If that's fluency for you, you can definitely become fluent in 2 to 3 months. For fluency, for other people who want to reach N1 or C1 or C2 level of Japanese, and these are pretty advanced levels for learners, that is going to take you longer to actually speak. It's going to take you 9 to even 12 months to actually get to that level of speaking. Personally, even though I am N1 level of Japanese, I wouldn't say that I am 100% fluent. I just want to say it. It takes a lot of time. You have to listen a lot. You have to speak a lot to a lot of different other people to actually get to the Japanese level of Japanese fluency. It's just not realistic to think that you can do it in 1 year. What is realistic to do in 1 year is get to N1 level. And again, that's basic fluency. N1 level is basic fluency, C1, C2, Japanese. That's a lot more doable in 1 year rather than complete natural native level fluency, which a lot of people do aim for. First, who am I? Yep, I already talked about this. I'm 100% born and raised in the United States of America. I have no Japanese in me. I have a little bit of Chinese in me and a little bit of Jamaican and a whole lot of American, which is just a mix of European. But I'm not Japanese. I've had no connection to Japan. I haven't grown up around Japanese or the language or anything. I thought ninjas came from China before learning Japanese. And so I've had no connection. And the only reason I say that is not so that you think like, oh, he's not a native. It's so that you know that I was in the place where you are now. You probably have had no connection to Japanese, or at least you haven't had a Japanese family that you grew up with. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be in this program. I was where you are with no fluency, no connections, nothing at all. And I still managed to get to N1 level Japanese. So I want to tell you that it's not impossible. It's very doable to get to this level of fluency within the time that you want to have it. I did learn Japanese through self-study classes, apps, and mentoring. I've used it all, but it took me 2 years to get to, daily conversational level. In my last official year of active study, I found a mentor. Tai Meshes is his name for anybody who's wondering. Tai Meshes, he actually doesn't know Japanese, he knows Chinese. And so his way of learning Chinese, as well as what he did to learn Chinese, as well as his way of mentoring me for progression, is what actually I feel has brought out my ability with Japanese more than anything else. And so his mentoring did inspire me to actually start this program, but he is a real person. I'm not just making him up. You can look him up on LinkedIn. Don't reach out to him. He's a busy man. Unless you have a job for him, in which case, please reach out to him. And yeah, I think he's a great dude in terms of mentoring and coaching. And I've used his methods to actually learn Japanese, and it's what I've been using on this program as well. Since then, I've used my mentor's same methodology, combined my research, habits, and learning methods to help hundreds of learners improve their Japanese skill level they want and in the time they want it. Yes, so I did not study languages in university. I studied fish, wildlife, and conservation biology, which is it's a field of biology specifically dedicated to the conservation of wildlife in the United States. And so this did have a lot of biology in it. It also had a lot of science of learning and human behavior classes within this major, within this degree. And so from those classes, there was a lot of studies that I found very interesting, and I actually did apply to my learning of Japanese. And so in this program, you will see fragments of those come up in terms of learning methods, strategies I use, research that I've done, research studies and case studies that you can find within this roadmap of like, okay, this is where he's pulling this information from. This is where, this is why the actions that I set are based in scientific research. A lot of it isn't going to be just off of my own experience. Most of it is going to be from research. Okay. Yes, now you may be thinking, where does this guy get off? A non-native speaker teaching Japanese, ridiculous. Trust me, I've heard it all before. Why should you listen to me? You shouldn't, at least not without doing your own research. Yes, I agree with this. Do your own research. The methods I use aren't innovative. They're not new. They have been used time and time again in the past 20 years. This is actually an older method. It's just not incorporated into the traditional methods of schooling. And so it's a shame that it's not, but really a lot of language learning is like this. So this isn't necessarily special. I do change ideas every now and then, depending on the research that I come across. I do try and keep up with research as I build this program out. So you'll see a lot of things are just like works in progress or continuous works in progress, just because there's more research that always comes out that either changes my ideas a little bit or changes my stances on certain actions. For example, at one point, I was totally against speaking. I thought speaking didn't help whatsoever. Now, I realize the value of speaking as a confidence builder more than anything, and it helps with memory when you make the physical movements with your mouth. I still don't think it's necessarily learning Japanese, but I do think that you're memorizing because you're making those physical movements. And I do think that building your confidence increases your motivation, increases the likelihood that you will succeed at learning Japanese. So again, these little changes do happen every now and then. I always prefer to take advice from someone who has been where I am, has done what I want to do, and has been able to replicate their success in others over the advice of someone who had just been handed their success when they were born. Yeah. A lot of people think that, oh, because this person is native, because this person is a Japanese person, they must know they must know the most about the Japanese language. This isn't true. You want to follow in the footsteps of other learners who have achieved what you want to have achieved and who are coming from where you are coming. And so that is why I think Japanese people are great for speaking to and speaking practice. That's why a lot of the speaking sessions are going to be with Japanese native tutors. But in terms of like guides, as well as mentoring and coaching and showing you the direction and giving you the consistency and accountability you need to learn Japanese, a lot of that has to come through another learner rather than somebody who was just born with that environment. as your Japanese grows, your goals will also grow with you. Again, I won't promise that you can become 100% fluent in Japanese, because your definition of fluency is going to change over time. And then you'll be like, oh, but Gus, you promised that I'd be fluent in 3 months. Why am I not fluent in 3 months? You're at the level that you wanted to be at 3 months ago. You're at that level. You're at the level that you told me. But you're not fluent because now that you see that there's a whole nother area of Japanese that you haven't gotten to, there's a new goalpost. Your goalpost is going to move when you learn more. So I won't promise that you get to Japanese fluency. I will promise that you will be able to speak Japanese. I will promise that your first goal is the goal that I'm going to help you get to. I'm not going to promise anything after that, because that goalpost is going to move for you. You might have a goalpost that is higher than my Japanese. You might have a goalpost that is like Kanken 1, so like the very, 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 very top of Japanese language. Again, people's goals change over time. With that said, I will promise also that you can definitely pass the JLPT N1 within 9 months on this program. That's the one promise I can make, because it's something that's concrete. You can measure it. You can definitely pass the JLPT N1 in 9 months here. Whether you are learning Japanese or teaching Japanese and sneaking around trying to find the secrets, I'm terribly, deeply sorry to say there is no secret. The truth is there is only one way to learn Japanese, or any language for that matter. It's repetition over some period of time. That's really all learning Japanese is at its core. In this roadmap, we do repetition through immersion, reading, watching, or listening to Japanese, speaking, and habits. For time, we spend as much time as humanly and reasonably possible learning Japanese every day for a short period of time. And that short period of time isn't daily, it's 3, 6 to 12 months, which is a short period of time considering this is learning a language. It's an all-out sprint, no holding back, no rest days, and no overthinking the actions that you have to do. For immersion, surround yourself little by little with real native Japanese in your everyday life. Change your phone to Japanese, change your computer to Japanese, change the shows you watch and books you read to Japanese. Keep improving your immersion until all that's left outside your daily work and family and your regular routine is Japanese. And this is the best way to go about it. For structure and habits, take pen and paper and write down exactly what you want to use Japanese for. Write what level of Japanese you need for that goal, decide how you are going to measure that and you've reached your goal, and then just break that apart. And so I go into more specifics here, but you can read that on your own time. My top resources for learning Japanese haven't changed since I actually started learning. So listening, 24/7 news on YouTube. Listening is the most important part of learning a language, and news does cover the most common phrases and vocabulary used. It has to be understood by everybody, which makes it a great place to go if you just want the regular common speak in Japanese, what's considered normal for Japanese language. Speaking, language partners, always the easiest. And the second most important part of language is speaking. Real language partners, not AI, not people trying to date you, unless you have a thing for that. They give you natural feedback and casual conversation that you remember. It's like having a parent to try new phrases with. You can find them again on HelloTalk, italki, Tandem, or other platforms. These all work. Reading, the Kindle free library. There's big selections of low-cost literary classics. My first book was Ningen Shikkaku, so Human Loss by Dazai Osamu. And this was from Kindle, Amazon's Kindle, and it was free, completely free. Again, that's when I had a Chromebook. And so those Chromebooks, on the Chromebooks, the Kindle app has a lot of books that are free. On Amazon itself, I think it's like 200, 300 yen, which is close to free. It's almost free. So those older books are really great to have. So Kindle free library is good. Aozora Bunko is also good. Tadoku.org is also great. These are all great places to find literary classics or books in Japanese for a Japanese audience, which is what's really important. Flashcards, Anki Droid, still the best just because you can personalize it, and it's the best spaced repetition system that's out. Even though it looks bad, it does look outdated. I do admit, who was it? I think, so a member on this program, Volodymyr, So Vladimir-san, he was telling me the other day, Anki Droid is so old, I can't stand to look at it. I'm just gonna use Migaku, and I'm just gonna use this app because it looks prettier, it looks nicer, it's a cleaner interface. I was like, okay, I totally understand. Anki Droid is old, it's more than 20 years old, and I don't blame anyone who doesn't want to use Anki Droid. That said, Anki Droid is still the best tool for actually achieving the level of Japanese that you might want on this program. And any program for that matter, because WaniKani, Quizlet, these ones are okay, but you can't personalize the cards as much as you can with Anki Droid. Watching YouTube, yes, tons of free content on YouTube. Writing Heisigs, remembering the kanji, if you're planning on writing the kanji, which I don't know why you would be, but if you still want to write Heisigs, remembering the kanji is where you want to start. It's still the best, even though it's also more than 20 years old. Watching is going to be, again, anime, another good site source. The reason I say anime is good is because it's made by Japanese people for a Japanese audience, which means the Japanese people have to understand it, and the Japanese voice actors, well, the voice actors are also Japanese, so it's all good Japanese in terms of learning. And it's a lot easier to go from having a slightly anime sounding Japanese level to having like a very native, a very natural, than going from that gaikokujin, that foreigner Japanese, to native natural Japanese. It's a lot easier to go from anime to natural than foreigner to natural. And that's why I think anime is a great tool still. So I have a whole biography here. I'm not gonna read it in this video. But if you feel like that you wanna know more about me before you actually start taking this course or dedicate any time to it, by all means, please. You can look up my LinkedIn, but you can also look up this biography. This all checks out. You can contact me personally to see if you want to understand this correctly and make sure I'm not lying or anything. You can contact me directly if you want. This is all written here for basically who I am, where I'm coming from, the experiences that I had, as well as experiences other learners might have had as well. So please read this. If you don't feel like reading it, it's okay. What's more important is that you just do the actions that we set to actually do. And once you get through that, the rest is easy. So take everything with a grain of salt, but I would say that's all for this first roadmap video. You'll see more videos like this throughout the series. Of course, I am gonna do a more thorough job of editing these videos once I actually have a little bit of leeway, a little bit of time and space. But in order to do that, first I have to get these videos out. So hopefully that you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found value from this video. If you're ready to start learning Japanese, start today. Start right now. Get off this video. Go watch something in Japanese. Just doing the actions is going to get you farther than anything else will ever do. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.